Hello, friends. Here today with a test of the BM800 condenser mic. Found these on GearBest, just kind of popping around for other stuff. Thought that's novel. It's a $15 condenser mic. It can't be any good at all. I got one in about a week ago. I was blown away. I compared it to vintage 414 with the C12 capsule and was blown away. So today I'm doing drum tests. First up is the kind of the control test. That's 81s on overhead. Okay, here we go. All right, now that's the SM81s on overhead. That's kind of what I use by default for demos and things like that. They're kind of mellow. So here are the 800s on overheads. Everything else is the same with a little EQ. All right, so that EQ is about 3 dB at 10K. You can clearly see when you're looking at this thing go across on a spectrograph or whatever you call them, that there's a rise around 10K on the 800s. First of all, the 800s are far hotter than any other condenser mic I own, like crazy hot. I think it's designed to feed, computers or phones or work with a smaller amount of phantom power. I don't know. I'm not worried about any of that stuff. I just know that I had to crank the preamp down quite a bit. But it's the same preamp feeding both these overheads with the output brought and the input brought quite a bit down to make sure that I've got, plenty of overhead for both. As far as the master bus is concerned, there's a little bit of compression, but probably not on the overhead soloed, which I'm about to play for you. If there is any, it's a tiny amount. So here is the 81 soloed overheads. All right, that's the 81. It doesn't have any EQ on it. So now I'm going to play you the 800s soloed as overheads. And again, there is a little bit of EQ, basically shelving EQ at about 10K, maybe a little lower than 10K, about 3 dB. And the levels, just basically trying to match the levels. So those are the only differences. Yeah, okay, so that's the 800s with a little bit of EQ, and those are just solos. That's just two overheads. And man, I'm pretty blown away. I'm pretty blown away that for that kind of money you can get that sort of quality. There's no, the self noise is negligible on both of these sets of mics. If you're hearing any noise, which you will because the air conditioner's on because it's 111 degrees outside. But as far as self noise, there's none. It's not, nothing you'd be concerned about ever. So the only practical question, I guess, in terms of whether you should buy this mic, if you're looking for something cheap, for a pair of $30 for a pair of, relatively matched condensers. I have 3 now, and the quality control between these 3 seems to be pretty good. Now, I'm going to put the exact link to where I got mine because I don't know if these are all the same or not. I really don't know. So I want to play a few. I'm gonna edit some of these grooves between the two, just so you can see, kind of get a direct comparison. Okay, so I I think it's fairly it would be a fairly universal observation that for a microphone that literally cost about what 1/20th of what the others do, that these are a really great deal. I know there's a whole political side to this discussion, and that's unfortunate. And the realities of both sides are unfortunate. But if you are a struggling musician or producer and you need to get some, you need mics, well, this is available in our marketplace. So we can have another discussion later. I'm not going to even put up the uneq'd versions. I did put some mixes of it, but this is already too long. It takes EQ well. I think you can tell that ride cymbal that was in the earlier clips is terrible sounding. It's got an awful sounding bell. It's very unflattering and hurtful. And so the mic takes EQ fairly well. It was able to get that about to where the 81s were in terms of the hurt that ride cymbal puts out there. So anyway, that's it. Hopefully that'll help a little bit and at least put one thing out there from a music production standpoint. I also use this mic on vocals with the rise in there. You have to be careful with sibilants and S's and things like that, but it's certainly dealable. I've used it on a couple tracks just out of curiosity, really, and it did a great job on both. So maybe I'll try to get something else up with some other instruments, but I know a lot of folks were interested in how this worked on drums. So there you go. Just make sure your preamp doesn't get overloaded. That's the main issue is going to be for some folks. If you don't have a preamp that literally turns all the way to zero, some preamps just kind of have all the way down is still feeding some gain. Hopefully you won't have to pad this. There's no pad. There's no anything on these mics. So there you go. Happy buying.